So here's even what Reuters is saying. So, majority of Canadians want carbon tax dropped or waived for 3 years, a poll came out. For 3 years, they want this carbon tax to be eliminated because they see through this scheme. They see through this measure that only flourishes the pockets of politicians and doesn't benefit the environment. And it's just making things worse for cost of living in Canada, on top of inflation, on top of the amount of money being printed and spent on foreign nations, developing them, but not developing us. So, majority of Canadians want carbon tax dropped or waived for 3 years now. 3 years now. This has been going on. And it doesn't seem to any measure in place for the Liberal Party or the NDP to drop that claim. They keep going on the argument of, well, this is going to invest more into green opportunities and you're going to get that money back in a tax reduction and you're going to get that in a rebate and blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't actually do anything for the environment. In fact, it makes it worse for the environment. All you're doing is taking that money and spending it on yourself, taking those luxury private jet tours to vacation spots or to Davos to talk more about climate change. The irony that it plays all throughout. So, here's a video that kind of ties into all of this. So, CNN went on to talk about the wildfires, and they're kerfuffled. They're having their feathers shaken with the fact that with the wildfires, there's people not immediately jumping on to climate change. That there's not enough people Google searching climate change in the result of the wildfires, and instead are focused on things like bringing water infrastructure to California, talking about forest management, talking about how we need to implement real policies that, in the case of a natural disaster, Californians are prepared for. And here's what CNN just kind of lost it a bit in regards of these new search results and how people are not connecting to climate change, which, regardless of how you feel about, regardless whether you're for it or against it, did not initially start these fires. Climate change doesn't start a natural disaster. It could affect the climate of a country or climate of a specific area, but it doesn't start these natural disasters. So listen to this.
I don't think Americans are making this connection. And the way we can see this in right here and now, take a look at the monthly change in Google searches. Look at the searches for wildfire, up 2,400%. My goodness gracious. This is the most amount of people searching for wildfire.
My goodness gracious. Great balls of fire. They're talking about wildfires on the internet. All the Google searches. Good golly Jesus. But there's more. Because look at next to it.
Fires ever going back since Google Trends began back in 2004. But look at climate change. Look at the change. It doesn't go hand in hand with wildfires. It's actually down. It's down 9%. And I also looked in California. There has been no increase in the number of searches for climate change. So the bottom line is this. Americans are definitely interested in learning about these wildfires. They're interested in following the news about the wildfires, but they are not making that connection with climate change. That's the bottom line here.
That's a really key metric you're looking at there, the connection. Overall, Americans being...
It's like watching one of those like Tony Robbins like self-help seminars. Like, they're not making the connection. You need to have synergy. To say that wildfires could be prevented if you give more taxes to burns like Gavin Newsom. They need to make that synergy. They need to make that synergy to understand that climate change means that a bunch of billionaires go over to Davos and eat steak and tar on a private jet while you can't get a lawnmower. They're not making that connection. And that's why people are not making this connection. It's not that climate change, they're deniers or anything. It's the fact that they understand that the people that are screaming the loudest for it are the same people that are in part of pollution, in part of causing the climate change and causing the measures that they're trying to demonize other people for. Like, look at Justin Trudeau, Mr. Climate Change himself. He has 7 motorcades to go to a public event. 7. You're telling me that the Prime Minister isn't environmental enough to take public transit? You're telling me that, you can't fly coach? You have to take a private jet that's going to add more chemicals into the air? How about the military? Because all the bases around the world that cause extraordinary amount of pollution, extraordinary amount of devastation in remote areas are adding to this situation. How about the Nord Stream pipeline explosion? I haven't seen environmentalists screaming about that. But no, places like California, places like Canada, we have to charge you double and triple for the amount of pollution that you're getting. And you might get a rebate back. We don't know how much, but you might get it back. And also, you can't have a gas-powered lawnmower. You also can't do this. It just shows the hypocrisy of this. That's why there's no connection. Because they see the hypocrisy. They see that the people screaming the loudest for climate change are in fact the people that are causing the damages. Oh, don't spread pollution. Pollution's a problem. I'm going to take my private jet now and go overseas to talk about it in another country. Look at Barack Obama. Barack Obama went to Africa and told them, hey, you can't have air conditioners. You can't have air conditioners because of climate change, because the earth is too warm and it's going to cause devastation. But I'm okay to have, 5 or 6 houses across America. I'm okay to have a multi-million-dollar mansion on Martha's Vineyard. But the sea levels are going to rise. That's why they're not making the connection. That's why. And it's amazing that CNN is going to pose it in this way, because the viewers that are watching this are immediately, because they're so entrenched in the garbage of propaganda that they spew here, they're immediately going to say, oh, it's because they're anti-science, because they're not readers, because they don't understand how the earth works. They don't understand how biology works. Well, it turns out people do understand. And they also understand that putting more money in the pockets of these nefarious ghouls isn't going to combat anything. It's not going to combat anything whatsoever. That's why they want to reduce the taxes. That's why Canadians want to eliminate the carbon taxes. Because it doesn't do anything in result to combating climate change in any measure, or saving the planet or saving the environment in any measure. Because nothing they say gets actually implemented into actual response in regards to it. And they are just showing their utter hypocrisy. So let's see the rest of this.
Worried about climate change. What have we seen over time?
Yeah, we have seen a lot of extreme weather events over the last few decades, right? Hurricanes, heat waves, wildfires. You might expect that Americans worry about climate change with climate change worry a lot. You go back to 1991, it was 35%. Now, it was a little bit higher in 2007, a little bit higher in 2022. But look at this. In 2023, the last time we have data, 39%. That is not statistically significantly different from this 35% back in 1991. So despite all these extreme weather events, Americans are really no more worried about climate change than they were, what is that, now nearly 35 years ago? I mean, there's just no real trend line here, Mr. Berman.
So the question is why?
Why? Why are they not really worried a lot about climate change? It might be because they feel like there's not a whole heck of a lot they can do. So climate change, humans contribute a great deal. Again, There's no real trend line here over the last few years. 2019, 49%, 2020, 49%, 2023, 46%, 2024, 45%. That's actually down 4 points from where we were back in 2019. And so less than a majority of Americans believe that humans contribute a great deal to climate change. So the bottom line is that is a big reason why they don't worry a lot. They just don't feel like they can do anything about it.
So the trend line is going down, even as scientists say that
because the people that are spewing this, the people that say human beings are contributing to climate change, are the same individuals that don't change their measures in response to it. Why don't we see more billionaires taking coach then? Why is Mark Zuckerberg, who's censoring people about climate change misinformation, allowed to buy a yacht for himself that contains 40 diesel engines? Why is that allowed to happen? Why is Justin Trudeau allowed to have 7 motorcades to arrive at a public event? Why is that allowed to happen if you're so concerned about climate change? If you're screaming to me about how I can't have a leaf blower or lawnmower, everything's got to be electric vehicles, everything's got to be turned upside down, and we got to cut off electricity supply and charge you triple in taxes, why are they not implementing that also to the billionaire class? That's why. That's why people are not making that connection. It's because they know it's an hypocrisy. It's a scheme. It's a stunt. If people were actually concerned about protecting the planet, protecting the environment, which a lot of people are, they wouldn't be listening to the billionaire class in response to it. They wouldn't be looking for Bill Gates as a solution. They wouldn't be looking for someone who barely passed college, does not know how to program, barely knows how to make medicine, and his greatest solution to climate change is burying the trees. Trees! You know, the thing that provides oxygen, a natural plant that provides oxygen throughout human history, which is why we currently stand to this day. We want to take down the trees and bury them. That's why nobody's looking up this. That's why nobody's concerned about climate change, human contributions, and that's going to cause the California wildfires. Again, regardless of how you feel about any of it, they are not the initial proponent that started this blaze. Climate change doesn't start natural disasters. Natural disasters are going to occur from something, and they become more frequent. So why are we not implementing solutions that if we know that there's no way out of this, that there's going to be frequent wildfires, that there's going to be more natural disasters, more hurricanes, more tornadoes, why are we not looking for solutions for human beings to rough it out? And at some point, this goes into the greater conversation that we had a while back about urban development. At some point, you have to look at this and go, is there a point? Like, how much money are people willing to forge out and spend to try to prevent natural disasters occurring in places that you know natural disasters occur frequently, that you know it's going to be inhabitable, but they still continue to build houses. They still continue to populate those areas. Why is that? Why is that?